So, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Happy World Children's Day.
Well,
Where are the children? Are you happy that this is your day? Okay. Now, my name is Caroline Meres from the National Council for Children's Services. I am here on behalf of our CEO, Mr. Abdinur Sheikh, who is in Kilifi today for the national celebrations of the World Children's Day. And I am happy to be here. The children are saying my voice, my rights, and it is my hope that even in this forum, we are going to listen to the children. So a bit about the National Council for Children's Services is that we are under the Ministry of Gender, Culture and Children's Services, the State Department for Children's Services, and we are a government agency whose work is mainly to regulate, coordinate and oversight children's services, and we also advise the government on matters to do with children. And so I will not say much. What I will say is that I am happy that we are having this conversation, and I am happy that we have thought of this initiative and we want to move forward with it, because as Ratemo has said here, the world has changed. A few years ago, the environment was just this one that we can see here, but there's a new environment. And are we then protecting our children in that other environment? Do our children have the capacity to take care of themselves in that other environment? And so allow me then to read remarks from our CEO. And so it says, the children in the room, colleagues from government and civil society, our partners in the media, distinguished guests, good morning and happy World Children's Day. He says that NCCS acknowledges and appreciates the efforts of Cralaf and other stakeholders in safeguarding the rights and welfare of children, and that we are delighted to be part of this event and glad that we are here to reflect on a very important issue, and one that cuts across every region, community and digital spaces that we all engage in, and that is the protection of our children online and the critical role that social media advocacy plays in promoting their safety and well-being.
Good morning. Seeing a lot of young people, we must also meet and vibrate at the same level. So I'm just trying. Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Caroline Morianki. I'm here to represent the Communications Authority of Kenya. I had hoped not to speak much, but to listen to the young people, but I'll just make a few remarks. Here to represent Mr. David Mboni, who is the current Director General by the Communications Authority of Kenya. So youth and children, so what are present here today? Dennis Ratemo, Teres Gomes, Caroline, National Council of Children's Services, National Council of Children's Services, Anthiamo, long time, State Department of Children's Services, Madam Phoebe, Cralaf. In fact, before I proceed, it was like a blast from the past. I recall our early days when we were talking about child online protection. We were very few in the room. There were agencies who were also of the opinion that this is not a big issue. But here we are today. It is indeed a major issue. So ladies and gentlemen and youth who are present here today, it gives me great pleasure to join you during today's celebration of World Children's Day and the launch of the social media advocacy initiative on child online protection. This event demonstrates our shared commitment to advocating for a safer online experience for children in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen and youth, we meet at a defining moment in our digital evolution, one marked by unprecedented connectivity, innovation, and access. It is notable that as of June 2025, mobile SIM card penetration in Kenya stands at 133.7%, reflecting a society that is deeply connected and increasingly dependent on digital technologies for communication, learning, and commerce. This level of connectivity also exposes users, especially children and the youth, to new and complex online risks. This reality calls for us to view online safety not mainly as a technical or regulatory concern, but also as a shared societal responsibility. It requires collective effort across all players in the ICT ecosystem to ensure that our digital future remains secure, inclusive, and empowering. Mkaribisha na makofi ya Kristo.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning once more. My name is Laura Makoha. I'm here to represent the CEO of the Media Council of Kenya, Mr. David Omoyo. The Media Council of Kenya is the media regulator in Kenya. But in order to regulate media, we work alongside other partners like the Communication Authorities of Kenya, and we also have the Music Society and Rights of Kenya and copyrights. So it's a very broad area. The media is a very broad area, but Media Council regulates the traditional media. That is, we have the television, we have radio, we also do digital media, where we are guided by a media code of conduct. And this year, Media Council of Kenya had an opportunity to launch a new code of conduct. It's called the Media Code of Conduct 2025. That is now approved by Parliament and it's in use. And in establishing the new code, we introduced a clause on child protection, because this is the area that has been always overlooked by most people. And the code of conduct represents standards for children programming, obligations relating to children, and also the general guide on how journalists should report for children. So in this act, we have some key provisions that we're looking at for journalists. That includes the non-identification of sensitive cases involving children. That involves sexual assault. We have any other sensitive situation that a child may be involved in. And number two, we are also looking into avoiding sensationalism when reporting about children, whereby we ask media practitioners not to sensationalize stories involving children, and also not to sensationalize stories involving children in distress, or only report facts about children.
I'm humbled by that introduction, and I'm very grateful to the organizers, particularly Cralaf, for seeing it so important to have this very important conversations around protecting children within the online space. I was just whispering to my colleague Dennis that this is an area that has not been explored, because whenever we are talking about training journalists, training people in the media space, we target mainstream journalists and editors and all that, and this very critical and important group of media influencers have not extensively been involved in these conversations. So kudos to Cralaf for so ably targeting a very critical section of the media in terms of preparing them or influencing their voices in terms of protecting children online. Likewise, I was not notified that I would do any keynote remarks, but having been a practitioner in this space, there's quite a lot to say, but I will just summarize it as much as I can. I am grateful to the government of Kenya for having involved me in quite a number of engagements that contribute to the protection of children, development of quite a number of guidelines and tools. I've been part of the steering committee that put in place the Children Act through the National Council for Children's Services and the Department of Children's Services, being part of the Disrupting Harm Report, National Plan of Action on Online Protection of Children, development of the Standard Operating Procedures on OXEA, guidelines on OXEA, number of policies, and I'm forever grateful that I've been able to participate in these spaces, influencing the protection of children in this country for quite a number of years. I'm happy that we've made quite significant milestones in terms of ensuring the protection of children generally and particularly within the online space.
So on behalf of Cralaf, and our proper name is Children Rights Advocacy and Legal Aid Foundation, Cralaf, allow me to still say it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this advocacy lounge and targeted capacity building training on ethical reporting, child protection, and child online safety, amongst a lot of things that you learn along the way. We are honored to convene this diverse group of influencers, bloggers, digital content creators, and youth advocates at a time when the digital landscape continues to shape how children learn, interact, and experience the world. Today's gathering reminds us that child protection is no longer confined to our homes, schools, or communities. It extends deeply into the digital spaces where children now learn, play, and grow. As we commemorate Universal Children's Day under the theme of My Day, My Right, My Voice, My Right, we are reminded that the protection and empowerment of every child, offline and online, is a very shared responsibility. Social media has immense power to expose injustices, amplify voices, and mobilize communities. Through your platforms, you have the power to promote ethical reporting and storytelling, challenge the harmful practices that you see, and champion safe online environments for every child. Because as you report, you can use your platform to educate people, to tell them more, because there is a lot of, like I think it was NCCS noted, the public discourse is played in the social media. At any given time, even now I know there's an ongoing one we are all aware, I'm not going to mention, because it's a pathetic one. When you're fighting about a burial, there are children in the mix. How are the stories being told? Does anybody stop to think that there are children who are mourning? So it is about how you package the story and moving forward. And I'm trying to put it very at a layman's language so that it can appeal. For me, it's an appeal to you. So that after you learn, then you'll find sense in applying what you've learned. Because training is one, equipping you is one thing, application is all a whole different game, which you really must commit yourself to take. And your work is not just to report, it's also even
You as the public, you engage public directly. We listen to you, we hear you first. It's about taking up the mantle of educating them. Whatever chances you have, whatever evils you see. If your area, you're coming from an area where they practice the harmful practices, you highlight and also educate from your safe space behind the keyboard. Today we will reflect. We are going to learn, practice, and commit to safeguarding children's dignity in all our digital engagements.
My name is Anthea from the State Department of Children's Services. I stand before you here this morning to present our Secretary of Children's Services, who's away celebrating the World Children's Day in Kilifi. I think Cralaf spoke to that. But nevertheless, we are here to present the State Department for Children's Services. Let me begin by most sincerely thanking each one of you for being here, even as we celebrate the World Children's Day. But I want to say I'm very happy to hear about the work Cralaf has been doing. And I was just asking you, where have you guys been? Access to justice, that's my cup of tea. Okay? We're really happy to see what you're doing. We are happy to see that you've embraced Article 149 of the Constitution that talks about mediation, that you're saying our children do not always have to go through the court process, isn't it? Yes, even for you, if you're in dispute with your neighbor, there could be so many meters of your land, you don't always have to go to court. So the Constitution has embraced that, and we expect that each one of us will embrace that. I want to thank each one of us for being here, and also thank Cralaf for inviting us this day as we celebrate the World Children's Day. The day also coincides with the Child Justice Month. Are we aware of the Child Justice Month? Yes, November has been what do we say? We celebrated as the world, as the annual day for justice for children. Just yesterday, in commemoration of that, and the annual month for child justice, we had 2-3 hours with the Chief Justice. It was not our day, it was the day for the children. She invited children from our statutory institutions, the remand, the reception centers, the rehab schools, and gave children a chance to speak, to air their voices, and say what it is that they feel, especially about the child justice system. And when you listen to the children, you can feel them. We have felt them right from when we arrest our children, when we take them to the police station, how we handle them there, when we take them to the children remand, how they appear in court, and even for us as a State Department, we are not doing very well. So we need to improve, and of course we invite Cralaf to have a conversation with us on access to justice, because what has come out from our children yesterday, and when we were celebrating, what were we celebrating the other day? Oh, when we were launching the annual Child Justice Month, children spoke, and they have not had very good things to talk about us. I don't know whether you remember, there was a case not too long ago where a child appeared. I can talk about it because it was in the media, where a child appeared in Narok. The child, I think, had stolen some oil and was accused of stealing some tractor parts, or the other way around. And the child was seriously beaten and was made to confess that this is what he did, which is not the case. That child was burnt with acid, his legs were burnt with acid. He appears in court unrepresented, but all these children, all these things are in our act. That our child must be represented legally. Appears before the court, he takes plea, and now the court doesn't know whether it's a child or an adult, assumes it's an adult, doesn't do an age assessment, because where there's doubt, you must do an age assessment, isn't it? And the child ends up, is taken to prison, and the prison says we're not going to admit, so he's taken out to hospital, and his legs were to be amputated. I don't know how that story went, the protection, let me not discuss beyond that. but this is what we're doing to our children. So we need to look inward as child justice actors, as child protectors. What are we doing to ourselves?
What are we doing to make sure that harm does not take place? Because when we prevent harm, have we protected children? Have we? If you know something that would predispose a child to protection risks and you prevent it from happening, you have. They say prevention is better than cure, right? So we are calling it prevention of and response to. Why are we saying response to? Because sometimes harm happens, isn't it? And if you are not able to respond to harm once it has happened to children, then you have not protected children. So for you as a protector of children, and the protector that you are going to become from this forum going forward, you should be able to contribute in preventing, but also contribute in responding, right? So, and prevention and response to abuse, neglect, exploitation, and all forms of violence. By violence here, we don't mean physical violence, kuchapa tuna. The violence in the context of child protection is taken from the word violation.
And so I want us to look at what the Children's Act, or how the Children's Act defines some of these harmful practices. I know you've heard of them. We have FGM, female genital mutilation. Does it happen in Nairobi? Or we just know that it happens in Nassau counties? Even in Nairobi, it's happening. By the way, let me tell you, even in central Kenya, that the prevalence for central Kenya was almost minimal. Right now, it's high. We know of young people, 17, 16, who are getting married to each other. Now, is that child marriage? Yeah, what's that? It's two children who are living together. They consider themselves married, and they even have a child. Sasa hiyo unaita nini? Two children defining each other, and then they get a child. Eh? You see the complexity of this child marriage. Eh? And then we've always considered the issue of child marriage to be for girls. Isn't it? Most of the time we see it's girls who get married. But these days we're even having boys. Because when you look at KDHS, Kenya Demographic Health Survey, the prevalence rate of boys' child marriage, that was in 2022, that was 3%. I know you can say that's a small number, but it's still there. So that's what we mean by child marriage. And then we have girl child breeding. This normally happens. This is a harmful practice that mostly it's Samburu and some parts of Turkana. So in girl child breeding, it's not the girl is not given the. You know, you've seen some beautiful girls with many beads. So you've seen them, like in from Northern or from Kajiado or Narok, beautiful girls with beads. However, this is not what I'm talking about. In girl child breeding, a young girl is taken and given to a Moran. And this Moran sleeps with this girl, and this girl cannot get pregnant, and this Moran will not marry this girl. That is what is called girl child breeding.
That state parties recognize the important function performed by the mass media and shall ensure that the child has access to information and material from a diversity of national and international sources, especially those aimed at the promotion of his or her social, spiritual and moral well-being and physical and mental health. So Article 17 is quite loaded. I'm not going to get into the depth of it, but what's important to note is that governments are actually being asked to ensure that legislations are in place to ensure that children benefit from this right to information. And when we talk about the right to information, of course, it's a double-edged sword, like we always say. I mean, it can protect, but also it can be injurious to children, but it can also guarantee certain rights to children. For example, when we talk about encouraging mass media to disseminate information and material of social and cultural benefit to children in accordance with the spirit of Article 29, which is around matters of education. So, you actually guaranteed that children are actually guaranteed the right to benefit from mass media and so forth and so on. So you can imagine that as early as 1989, much as the social media where most of you where it's space for most of you, these rights were already recognized under the Convention on the Rights of the Child.
We prevent, then we work. If we cannot prevent, we protect, we respond. This is investigation, victim identification, safeguarding. We remove the victims from the harm, okay? Then, child protection officers cannot survive without partners, okay? Partnership is very important. Let's move on. Okay, that was just a little bit of introduction. Doesn't mean a lot. But the role of these people I've mentioned here can be very nice if you can educate your audiences about, right? CEO, you know, you always say you cannot assist even in reporting a crime until it knocks at your doorstep. Okay? You see somebody, a child is being defiled or is walking with strangers, and you say, we see one. See, highlight the red flags. Adults and peers should not share safety tips for parents and young people if you can.
To add to the question of rescue, I think part of what we need to do, all of us, including you, social media personalities, influencers, bloggers, is to understand what the law provides in terms of rescue, because this has really been a gap. You can imagine a child being rescued and being taken all the way to Kiambu. I just want to let you know that the Children Act provides that every county shall have a rescue facility for children. That's a provision in the Children Act.